A very good Tuesday to you. My name is Mark Lasanowski, and it's a pleasure to have you with us here today. We're going to give everyone a few minutes here just to make their way into the room and get comfortable as we prepare to tell you all about the wonderful things that happen at Mount Allison University. As we do, I would like to take a moment this morning to acknowledge that Mount Allison University and everything that happens at Mount Allison University is located on the traditional unceded territory of the Maliseet and the Mi'kmaq people here in Canada. So this territory where we are today, where I am today, is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship. So everything we do here, we always have to respect that spirit of peace and friendship. And quite honestly, what better spirit to respect than one of peace and friendship? So we appreciate very much being here on these lands and sharing in the stewardship of these lands with those people who were here before us. So I'd like to thank all of you for joining our panel this morning. And I'll take a few moments to walk through our sort of what's going to happen here today and let you know who's here and what's happening. There is a chat box, so if you are having any technical difficulties or you're unsure about anything, feel free to make a comment in the chat box. If you have a question, we're here primarily to make sure that we get answers, that you get answers to your questions. So there is a Q&A box you can click open at the bottom of the screen. You can ask questions at any time. But what we'll probably do here today is just let all of our panelists introduce themselves and tell you who they are and what they do and how they can provide service for you here as a student at Mount Allison University. And then we'll move to a question and answer period at the end. Some of you have asked questions in advance, and we thank you very much for that. And we look forward to answering some of those questions as well. I'm just going to take a moment now to pull up on the screen here. This is the International Open House website, which all of you presumably will have visited unless you're sitting next to someone right now who logged in. So I just want to take a quick moment to tell you about all the different things we have happening here today. Take a moment to hear some words of welcome from Dr. Jean-Paul Bourreau, who is our president and vice chancellor of the university. We do have a few live events, so it's a mix today, just like our curriculum here for international students in 2020 and 2021, and for Canadian students as well. We have some events that are what we would call synchronous, that you can join live, and we have some events that you can do in an asynchronous fashion, so they're available whenever you like. So as you see here, we're currently in this parent and student panel Q&A. Immediately after this panel, we will have, for the next 3 hours, an admissions room. So this is a great opportunity for you to come in and chat with any of our admissions counselors to get information about application, or if you've already applied, to find out about your application. Anything that you're interested in knowing, that's what it's there for. So that is immediately following this, and then again at 5 p.m. Atlantic time. So that would be 9 p.m. GMT. And then we will have another panel again at 8 p.m. tonight, so in 12 hours from now. I would encourage you, if you've not already done so, to watch this video, which talks with this person, Mark Lasanowski, who will tell you some wonderful ideas about your application and other information you might like to know. And as well, this person, Krista Maston, who is full of information about the services offered through our international center. So make sure, if you've not already done so, if you have done so, thank you. Some of your questions will already be answered. And if you haven't, take a few moments. We promise they are not long, because neither Krista nor I are so interesting that you need to watch us for hours on end. All day long, we have lots of events happening as well that you can check out on the internet. And so have a look at all of the student takeover on Instagram, the virtual campus tour, our admissions presentation featuring yet another one of our panelists here. And you can see all of the different events that are there. So you can really fill a day. You can fill tomorrow as well if you're on the other side of the planet and already rolling into Wednesday at this time. So the address for that, there you see at the top of the screen, mta.ca/INTL Open House. So thank you so much for giving me a few moments to share that information with you. I'd now like to take a moment to introduce you to our wonderful panelists here. And I'm going to start with my colleague right here in the admissions office. So Sonia Koralker, admissions counselor, if you could just take a moment to tell us what you do and how you're here to help international students as well through the admissions office.
Thank you, Mark. Hi, everyone. My name is Sonia Koralker, and as Mark said, I'm a recruitment and admissions counselor, which means in a normal year, I travel everywhere and I meet future prospective students, and I also consult them about admission processes. So today I'm here to answer any of your questions about the application process, scholarships, the housing application, things like that. I've also been a student, or I was a student 2 years ago, so I've also recently graduated, so I can answer any of those questions. Although I know that we do have 2 current students, so if you have any questions about student life, we have lots of people here who can answer those. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia. So as well, once you're, Sonia talks about admissions a little bit, once you're admitted and once you're here, we have a whole suite of services that we offer as well. And so international affairs here are so important. We have a VP international, sorry, I should tell a VP student affairs and international. And Adam, help me get your title correct. It's director student life and international. Do I have that right? Or you'll correct me as you introduce yourself.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Adam Christie. I'm the Director of Student Life and International Services at Mount Allison University. Like Sonia, I'm a Mount Allison graduate, and I'm really delighted to be on the call this morning, telling you a little bit more about my area and how I work to support students. I'm excited to be on this call because I myself have had a number of international experiences. I've lived in a number of countries around the world, and I really try hard to bring that international perspective here to Mount Allison. I work with Krista in the international office, supporting international students, supporting international activities. So that's study abroad and exchange as well, and inbound English and culture programs. I work with the Students' Union to support the orientation experience for new students. And I work with our residence teams. So not so much assigning students to residence, but supporting the activities that go on in residence. And then just really working with students throughout their journey at Mount Allison to graduation, helping them to find and really maximize opportunities in and away from the classroom. So looking forward to answering any and all questions.
Thanks so much, Adam. So as well, our International Center is here to provide a wealth of services to both international and Canadian students. And so Krista Maston, International Student Advisor, if I could ask you to say a few words about the International Center and some of the services offered there.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So my name is Krista Maston, and I'm the International Student Advisor at Mount A. And as Mark mentioned, I work in the International Center at Mount A. And so we coordinate a number of programs and services for international students at Mount A. That starts, when students first begin their studies at Mount A. International orientation and is a key program that we run for new students to kind of get them settled and introduce them to all things academic, social, cultural at Mount A and in Canada. We also coordinate a mentorship program through the International Center, academic support services. We run events and trips and activities throughout the year to help support students, academic support services. We also coordinate kind of immigration support services and health insurance. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you have about any of those things. Also in the admissions process, you'll have to apply for a Canadian study permit if you're coming to Canada to study, and I'm available to help provide some guidance and support to students through that process as well.
Thanks so much, Krista. So one of the things you will do here at Mount Allison also is go to class. You will attend probably 40 different courses over the course of your 4-year education here. And so we need to bring someone in from the academic realm. And so we're very fortunate this morning to have our Dean of Social Science, who's Noman Faruqi, and he'll tell us a little bit about what's waiting for you on the academic side.
Good morning, a very warm welcome to a virtual Mount Allison meeting. As Mark mentioned, my name is Noman Faruqi. I'm the Dean of Business and Social Sciences. I teach in the Commerce program in the areas of entrepreneurship and finance. I've been at Mount A for almost 20 years now. Lived and worked in 5 different countries. and always enjoy interacting with international students, getting their perspective. The academic side of Mount Allison is really, I think, so woven very closely with almost everything else that happens. So we've got obviously the classes, we've got clubs and societies, we've got guest speakers, we've got events that happen, but they're kind of seamlessly linked. So you will find an experience which is an overall experience, in which we are able to provide you with a very well-connected, interwoven program. And I think so. The best part of Mount Allison is the community, in which you are going to be, sharing experiences, and the learning that happens, and the learning, as a faculty member, I can attest to the fact that the learning is two ways. Just like students learn something from us, we learn something from the students, and it makes us enriched and makes us better and ready to kind of, welcome the next round of students. So. Would love to hear from you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much, Naman. And you make a very important point. Community, it really is everything. And, we would be an okay community if we were just faculty and staff, but the most important members of our community here are our students. So we have some of those on the panel as well this morning. And I'm going to start ladies first, I suppose. I'm going to start with Linnea Bitter and ask her to tell ask her to tell us a little bit about her Mount Allison story.
Hello, everyone. My name is Linnea, and I'm currently in my third year studying psychology and sociology. And I'm originally from British Columbia, Canada, on the West Coast. But I grew up abroad in Russia, Zambia, and I graduated from South Korea. And then I came to Mount Allison after that. And I'm also an intern at the International Center with Christie, and I'm also a campus ambassador. So I hope that I can offer a student perspective for you.
Thanks so much, Linnea. And that leaves just one more panelist who has just one name. There's Madonna, there's Cher, there's Biko. Biko, take it away.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, so I'm a fourth year student here at Monet. I'm doing an honors in politics, philosophy, and economics with a minor in environmental studies. I'm originally from Nairobi, Kenya, and I was really drawn to Mount Allison for its small size and its community. I work for the marketing and communications office here at Monet, but I'm also a campus ambassador. If you watch the campus tour, I'll be one of the ambassadors. So just a little fun fact. And I'm happy to answer any of your questions today.
Thank you so much, Biko. And really, the questions are what this is all about. So I do encourage all of our attendees this morning, please do not be shy with your questions. That's what this is all about. We want to make sure that whatever information you're curious about learning, that you're going to be able to learn. And on that note, some of you I mentioned did submit questions before. So as I wait for some of you to populate that Q&A box at the bottom of your screen with some of those questions, I am going to start right in on the questions that we received in advance. And I might start with you, Sonia, because there's a few questions here about admission. So I think that these will be of interest to just about everybody. But Gregory asked, knowing that we have an aviation program, so it calls it a BBA Aviation Management Program, commencing September 2021. So Sonia, would you be able to talk a little bit about what that program is and how a student would apply to it?
Thank you. So thank you so much for that question. Aviation is one of our most popular programs at Mount Allison, and we offer two different options for that. We have a Bachelor's of Science with a major in aviation, and the one the student is looking at would be the Bachelor's of Commerce with a major in aviation. The main difference between the two are the degrees. So the foundational degrees are different. You take different courses. If you take the science route, you would be taking different types of science courses in addition to aviation courses that would be the foundation. And if you're a commerce student, you'll be taking all business courses. So everything from accounting, finance, marketing, management. And on top of that, you will have the aviation training. The aviation training is done through the Moncton Flight College, which is our partner for this program. And they're actually one of the best flight colleges in Canada. So in total, the program is for 4 years. the education component happens through Mount Allison, and then the flying component is at the Mountain Flight College. The program is set up in a different way. So in your first year, you take all Mount Allison courses, and then you start flying in your second year. So you balance between Mount Allison courses and the Mountain Flight College training for your second, third, and fourth year. An alternative option to this is to focus on your Mount Allison courses for all 3 years, and then commit to all MFC courses and training for your fourth year. So those are the two ways the program is set up. The requirements for the aviation program are, of course, specific, and you need to meet certain course requirements to actually start flying. That is one of the reasons why we do not usually encourage students to apply for the aviation program in January. So we highly, highly recommend you to start in the September program, especially if you're doing the 1-year foundation at Mount Allison and then a combination of 3-year program. So yeah, those are some of the basic things I can tell you about Mount Allison's aviation program. If you have more questions, I can talk about them too.
Thanks, Sonia. Noman, could you perhaps talk a little bit too about some of the career opportunities that would follow for a student who does an aviation degree or more generally a commerce degree?
Yeah, I think so. The aviation option that was recently introduced is really a market-driven option that we have begun offering, and it has been very popular. And the reasoning behind it is obviously pre-COVID, we saw an explosion of international travel, and research shows that once we are past this pandemic, that it's again certainly going to surge. There's a global shortage of over 60 to 70,000 commercial pilots in the next couple of years. So there's a huge demand out there for pilots. And given the fact that business plays such an important role in aviation, the combination of having a pilot's license at the same time having a commerce degree, and really the most important thing is that you're able to complete both of those things in 4 years. It's not the typical, you do the BCom or the commerce degree and then you go into your flying. It's all inclusive in 4 years. So other than the regular, jobs in airlines, if you will, there are other jobs within the transportation logistics industry. And a number of people commented, who have been in the aviation industry for many years, that after X number of years of flying, they may decide not to fly anymore due to family reasons, due to health reasons. And at that point in time, they have the option of relying on their business degree to be able to kind of get into the aviation management stream, if you will. There's a huge opportunity within that area, if you will. So I think so it's a great combination, and we've seen some really great interest in the program, and like Sonia mentioned, that we have partnered with Mountain Flight College, which is one of the premier flight schools in Canada. In terms of the other Bachelor of Commerce degree, it's a business degree, and one of the unique features of our program is that we require our students to do a minor in a non-business area. So if you look at a typical business program at any other university, students kind of do a major in, let's say, marketing and a minor in, let's say, in management, for example. At Mount Allison, we require our students to do a minor in a non-business area. And there's a reason behind that. As you look at business and you look at what's been happening, it's really important for students to have a very holistic view of business. What happens in business is not alone. It impacts society, it impacts politics, impacts everything. So it's important for students to be able to develop an appreciation of other disciplines and other areas. And that's what our disciplinary minor allows. And there, students can choose a number of different interesting combinations. I've had many students who do a minor in music, right? You may kind of say minor in music with a business degree, but if you look at it from another point of view, the business of music is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, right? So there's a very natural kind of affinity to those two groups, if you will. So I think so that's just one of the unique features, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions as we move along.
Just to give our students a few more details about the aviation program, the Mountain Flight College component prepares you with your PPL, your private pilot license, your CPL, your commercial pilot license, and then your ADPL, which is the Air Light Transport Pilot License. By the end of your 4-year program, you will not only get a degree from Mount Allison, but you'll also complete 200 flying hours, which is one of the higher numbers in Canada, and that will set you to the right journey. And one other thing to mention is that students in the aviation degree have a very different fee structure, so make sure you take a look at that before you actually apply. Highly recommend doing that.
Thanks to both of you. And Sonia, while I have you here, we do see that there's a couple questions up on my board about admissions here. So one of them very quickly is, I'm 26 years old. Can I still apply for an undergraduate program?
You absolutely can. So you would qualify as our mature student. If you have completed any other education after your high school back home, make sure you apply as a transfer student or a post-secondary student. That way we can look at all of your academic transcripts. With the application, make sure, again, you submit your final high school transcript, any other post-secondary education you've had, even if it's a 1-year diploma, we do need to take a look at that. Make sure you submit a resume and a letter of intent and a copy of your passport, and we will take it from there.
And scholarships, are there opportunities for students to apply for scholarships along with their admission?
Absolutely. So just to cue it in with the last question, mature students do not qualify for scholarships. So that is something to consider. If you're under the age of 23, then you will get a scholarship. For anyone else out there, you will get a scholarship as long as you have a certain admission requirement, a certain average, and as long as you apply before March 1st. So for scholarship, we will be taking a look at your transcripts, so your academic grades, but we will also be looking at your extracurriculars, leadership, volunteering experience. So it is a very well-rounded approach. So make sure you write all of this information in your application and be thorough with it. If you are interested in applying to our biggest scholarship, which is the Bell Scholarship, it does include a separate application where you would be asked to write a 500-word answer or essay on one specific topic that we will send you. And you will also have to submit 3 reference letters. So make sure you get all of that done before March 1st.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We have a few questions about student life, so I think we should probably ask our students about student life, and they'll be able to give us the best indication. Linnea, I might start with you. Can you talk a little bit about some of the clubs or student associations that students are able to join?
Yes, there are like a ton of different clubs and societies that students can join. And one of my favorite days of the year is at the beginning. The Mount Allison Student Union hosts a day called Clubs and Societies Student Fair. And you walk around and you get to talk to all the different students who are leading clubs and what their club is like. And if you are interested, you can join as well. I think there's like over 110 different clubs and societies, but even if you don't see one there that you were like, oh, darn, I wish there was this club that was offered, you can always go and start your own club too. My friend actually in first year, they really wanted to start a Parks Canada club and go out and like just see a lot more of like the Maritimes in that way. And so they started a Parks Canada club with the student union. But yeah, I think there's just clubs for like anyone and everyone. And it was a big way that I made friends and got to know a bunch of different students that weren't necessarily in my program or my classes or my residence. And so like some of my favorites is the musical, and this is a really cool opportunity for students to get to know each other from a bunch of different disciplines, but it's also fun to go watch as well if you're not necessarily in the musical. But there's also a ton of creative writing and sports clubs and academic clubs. A lot of disciplines have their own society, like the Biochemistry Society. But yeah, I hope that helps.
No, that's great. And Linnea, while I have you, just to put you on the spot a little bit, there's a question as well about trying different courses and changing your majors along the way. So can you just maybe walk us briefly through a little bit, as much as you're comfortable in so doing, your own academic journey so far at the university? You mentioned psychology, and did you say sociology?
Yes.
So is that where you started? That's where you're finishing? Can you walk us through that a little bit?
I knew that I wanted to study psychology, and after I got here, I knew that's what I wanted to continue studying. So I stayed in psychology. But I was interested in sociology through a distribution course that I was taking. So at Mount Allison, you have to take different courses that might not necessarily be in your discipline. And so I was taking sociology as part of this. And I ended up like falling in love with the course and the subject, and it's now my minor. And even in third year, or I think the end of my second year, I discovered that there were certificates that you could get as well. And so at that point in my degree, I decided that I wanted to go and get the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion certificate. So that has also helped shape my degree to take specific courses under that category as well. But my best friend as well, she's in third year and she has just changed her minor for I think like the 5th time. And so it's very common that students don't have a necessarily linear path, but I think that's just because you don't necessarily know everything when you are graduating from high school and what you may or may not like at university, and you might not even know what you are about to love to study, like me with sociology.
Thanks, Linnea. Now, Biko, you are days away from finishing your Mount Allison degree, I believe. So I'll ask you a very similar question. You mentioned earlier, if I'm getting this correct, honors in philosophy, politics, and economics, minor in environmental studies. Is that where you started? That's where you're finishing. How did we get from the start line to where you are today academically?
Yeah, of course. I started with thinking about whether I wanted to do economics or geography. When I was applying to Mount A, it was really a toss-up between those two. And I was really torn, because I think when you're in high school, those are kind of like the options you have and you see. A lot of courses that you see at Mount Allison you'd have necessarily seen in high school, which is always something to keep in mind. So when I was initially starting, I took some economics courses, but I also wanted to try out in my first year, as a lot of students get to do, a bunch of different courses in a variety of areas. So I took some courses in sociology, I tried out some classes in philosophy, some courses in history, and the ones that really stuck with me were politics and philosophy. And one of the great things about Monet is that you get a chance to kind of mix and match, different programs. But I was also really lucky in that there's an entire program in the PPE that lets you do philosophy, politics, and economics all at once. And when you are doing that, you have the chance to do an honors, in the sense that you can emphasize on one particular area. So that's kind of how I came into my degree. I didn't know about the PPE program when I was initially applying, but it's something I found when I was here, and it's something that's I was able to kind of pull all my different interests together. And then with the environmental studies part, it was just a way of me finding something I could do that was interdisciplinary, but also still combining, geography. So environmental studies is also a major, and you can do geography courses with things in economics, with languages. So you kind of have all those different areas you can go into, and that's one of the really great things about Monet, is that you don't have to kind of stick into this one area, into this one thing. And through the course of your degree, you'll have the chance to explore, to do research, and that's kind of been my academic journey so far. And yeah, I think it's been incredibly rewarding in terms of just being able to see so many different perspectives and learn from so many different areas.
Now, Biko, do you come from a small town, a big city, the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, I come from Nairobi, which is not a small town. It's almost the size of like Toronto.
Right. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so coming to Sackville was definitely a shift. I growing up, before I went into boarding school for my last 2 years, I lived in Nairobi, and being in traffic every day for 2 to 3 hours was just something I took as part of the way of doing things. And so when I was coming to Sackville and I was walking to class in 5 minutes, that was definitely a shift, and that's something that I've found that makes living in a small town really enjoyable. That you can just see everything and have everything within your access, but don't feel like you're not really missing out on things that are going on.
Would you say that, and you can answer this, please, very honestly, like all of our questions, but I think a lot of people, they think about coming to a small town like this, and they think there won't be very much diversity here by any definition of the word. Would you say that's true, or what's your experience been?
I think in terms of one of the reasons why I wanted to study internationally is that I wanted to get to know people from a variety of different places. And I think in my experience here so far, I've been able to meet a number of students from Canada, but also, you know, internationally as well. So I was able to meet people from, you know, Liberia, Nigeria, but also from other parts in Europe. We have students who come in here on transfer and exchange. So you get a chance to see a variety of different perspectives. So as much as, you know, you might be thinking it's a small town, you don't really get to see too many people around. There are a number of other international students who do come here. And, you know, over the summer, especially this one, when COVID struck and a lot of us, you know, stuck around, we got to really know one another and got to, you know, and got to really, you know, go through this together. So you kind of have this community that naturally forms, you know, when you're at Monet.
Thank you so much. I think that speaks very well to, you know, some of the really positive aspects of life here in Sackville. Adam, life isn't always peachy here, of course. You're here, most of you as students, for 4 years. A lot of things, there are always ups and downs over the course of 4 years. When students need support, what kinds of supports are available here on campus for international students, for Canadian students, for everyone? What are the key services that you see students coming for and that you're excited that we're offering here?
Sure, Mark. I mean, I think there's different touch points and different times in a student's progression through their degree at Mount Allison where they'll need different supports. And I think early on, closer to arrival, and Krista already mentioned this, she made reference to the International Mentorship Program. I think that, you know, for many students who are coming to Mount Allison, traveling longer distances to get here, as I did as a first-year student coming from British Columbia, the other side of Canada. I knew no one, and maybe that was a similar experience. I mean, Linnea mentioned it as well. Sanya, I know that you're from out west as well, and so it's a challenge. I think, like, early on, making those connections with other students, trying to feel like this is your new home and that you can be successful here. And I think it starts by making those connections with other students. And so I highly recommend the International Mentorship Program, and I can ask Krista to speak to that in more detail, and others as well. I think students will also run up against challenges in making that transition to a new academic setting. And so I think that there's a lot of support that's available for students on that front. So you know, and maybe this is where we can turn things over to the dean, Dr. Faruqi, where we talk about the different programs that are in place, the structures that are in place around, you know, for students who are going through a social science stream, an arts, or a science stream, some of the supports that are built into to helping students with that transition academically. I mean, one of the most popular services I think on campus is through the library, and that's our Writing Resource Center. And there's a lot of, so students can go in and get one-on-one help with their writing, so that, as you know, as their assigned work, whether it's from a science perspective or from an arts perspective, that there's staff and both peer tutors who are there to provide some you know, the benefit of experience that they've acquired over time at Mount Allison. And that's a free service that's fully available to all students through the library. I think that in our residence system too, that's another touch point. A lot of students will choose to live in residence during their first or second year on campus. And so in residence, for example, we have academic mentors. So these are students, these are second or third year students who are, you know, who will plan activities in residence for students to, again, sort of break down some of the challenges that students will experience in making that adjustment academically to a new setting. I think that, so orientation is another great place to start, to just, again, providing some points of connection where, you know, connecting students with some of the services and the students that are available to help with that transition. And I think one of the great things about a small place like Mount Allison is that people are reachable in non-COVID times. So it's, you know, it truly is an open door approach to things, so that when you come into the student center, I mean, really, you can find an open door and you can find staff who are willing to help you in any way that you need that help. So I think that I think one of the benefits of coming to a small place like Mount Allison is that, you know, I think it's easier to get the help that you need, and when you and that staff, like some of the people who are here on the call, are able to connect you quickly with that help. So I don't know if that's just sort of a very high level approach, and others may have some more specific comments or experiences that help them.
If I can add, Mark, as Adam was mentioning, the academic staff also, the faculty also have an open door policy, and students, unlike at larger universities, they have access to their faculty members. I remember when I went to grad school in the US, in order to see the faculty member, I had to go through 2 TAs, teaching assistants, before I got to talk to the professor. It was a class of about 500 students. And so it was a very different kind of a class, if you will, and a different kind of an experience. We have smaller class sizes. Students have access to the faculty members, all the time. Open door policy, you can knock on the door, and if the faculty member is not busy or has a meeting or what have you, they're more than happy to kind of, connect with you. That has translated into the virtual environment, obviously, in order to help our students. So it's not the same as knocking on someone's door. It is using, the etiquette of online. So you send an email, you find a time, you can connect on our platform, which is Microsoft Teams, which is something similar to Zoom, so you can have a face-to-face conversation. And I think so the faculty have really stepped up in these times in order to provide a really quality experience given the circumstances.
Great, thank you to both of you. Christie Maston, International Student Advisor. One of the, the big hurdles that students have to meet when they are once admitted to Mount Allison University is that they have to apply, if they're coming from outside of the country, for a study permit. So do you have any hot tips for our students on great ideas for applying for their study permit?
Hot tips. I think an important place to start is looking at our guide. So we have a step-by-step guide posted on the Mount A website. So it's mta.ca/study permit. It takes you through step by step. And again, any specific questions, you can email myself, admissions, for some of that guidance. But so one thing that I would like to point out to students is that although when you apply online, no matter where you're applying from, you will see the same standard requirements as far as financial proof, your passport, your high school grades or transcript. But each visa office actually publishes specific guidance for students applying from that particular country. And those are really important to review before you submit your application. Again, so no matter where you're applying from, you'll have the same standard requirements, but there may be additional information that your specific visa office asks for. So not mandatory, but really helpful in strengthening your application. So one of those items is often a study plan. And so again, specific offices might ask different questions that they want students or they want applicants to address. So it's really important to consult those visa instructions, those country-specific visa instructions. And again, Mark has pulled up here the website, our study permit guidance, and the link to those country-specific visa office instructions are in the step-by-step guide. So be sure to check that out. And of course, ask questions and get in touch if you have any questions at all along the way.
Thank you so much. I'm going to look back to our students here for a moment because I noticed that I have a question here that's specific to the climate. You both lived in a lot of different climates. What advice do you have for students about understanding the climate of Sackville? I'll start with you, Biko, this time.
Yeah, I don't know where you're coming from, but it's cold. I mean, Linnea had a bit of experience in BC, so maybe her transition was fairly easier. But I came from, I did my last 2 years of high school in Mombasa. Mombasa is a coastal town or city in Kenya. So we were consistently doing 30 degrees every day. Maybe if it was a little calm, we'll get like 28. And so when I came here after that, I think the first 3 months are fairly easy in the sense that it's fall and you still have your 20 degrees and kind of your upper tens. But once you hit the end of November, mid-November to December, that's when you really need to be prepared for. I think you kind of have to just do your research and see what's there. Again, these stores around and close to Sackville. Moncton is only about 30 minutes away, so there's places you can kind of bundle up and find things that will be useful. But I think the weather is definitely a transition and something to look out for. But I've been here for 4 years, and even the Canadians I talk to, even they still aren't used to winter. So it's just something you kind of move with. It's part of the experience. Snow isn't something we get back home, so and seeing the colors change with the leaves. So there's always parts of it that are unique and kind of make the international experience what it is. But it will take some adjusting to. But again, there's ways you can manage that.
You have all the warm clothes that you need, Biko?
I do. I've kind of built them up over time. When I came in here, I had like a hoodie and maybe like a jacket. But then when kind of the end of October, beginning of November came around, it's like I'm going to need a bit more than this.
I will point out today, it's not really a fair day to point this out. It is the 1st of December, and it's quite warm in my office. My window is wide open, and it is 15 degrees Celsius this morning here in Sackville, which is on a day-to-day basis, perhaps not the most normal thing for here. But I would say a day of 15 degrees is common in any December. We always, if you don't like it here, so if you don't like the weather here one day, wait until the next. Quite often is the situation here too. Linnea, from all of the different places that you lived, is there anything that sticks out about the climate here in Sackville for you?
Yeah, I think I definitely did not do my research before coming here. And for some reason in my mind, I was like, oh, the Maritimes, it's on the coast. It's going to be so like sunny and like warm. And to be fair, it is very sunny a lot of the times, but I was not spot on about like the warm for the winter. And so I came with like flip-flops and like maybe a hoodie. And I think very quickly, especially in my first year, it was a pretty early winter. And I realized I needed to get a winter coat and maybe some good winter boots. But it honestly is quite fun. And this is definitely the coldest place and with the most snow that I've ever lived in. And on the first day of like when it snows, it is very magical and it's super fun to just be outside with some friends and just experience it. And every year I always see students who might not have seen snow before, especially living in residence. I remember looking out my window and seeing just a bunch of like students who hadn't experienced snow for the first time, just like smiling and laughing, and like it's just like a fun time in that experience. But it definitely brings people closer together through the bond of being in the cold.
Thank you to both of you. Maybe I should have asked that question of Krista, who came from an hour and a half to the north of here, and so who thinks it's actually quite mild and lovely. I am not a winter fan myself. Let me correct that. I was not a winter fan. I grew up in a warmer place than this. That has winter, but not as much of it. And I think one of the things that for me was a real key to I thriving in this climate is the fact that Sackville is so small. And so on the number one, I asked Biko, do you have a coat? Just bring the right clothing with you, or acquire the right clothing once you get here is perhaps an even more apt piece of advice. Because once you have the right clothes, I actually suggest that a lot of the people who seem to like the climate here, the cold aspects of the climate, are the ones who come from the warmest places because it's not what you're used to. At the same time, on those really cold days, which tend to be few and far between, but on those really cold days, I would propose that the best thing about here is that everything is no more than 5 minutes away on foot. So if all you have to do is just get there in 5 minutes, and keep in mind, you have to watch out for the people like Krista, who are from this part of the world, and so they're used to it, and they'll want to stop and chat. Don't make eye contact with the Kristas of the world. Just carry on until you get inside the building, and then unwrap yourself, and then life will be good. Noman, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, I'm from Pakistan, so it's a warm country and it gets cold where I used to live up north, but we didn't get any snow. So when I moved over here, everybody had warned me about the snow. But the great thing about, cold weather is that in hot weather, you can't go out. Like, it's really, really hot unless and until you're kind of, going in an air conditioned car. But like, even walking and exploring warm weather in hot weather is very difficult. In by contrast, in winter, if you dress warmly, you can go anywhere. So it was kind of, oh, I don't have to stay at home, I can go out, and quite honestly, I don't walk to work a lot, but in the winters I enjoy walking to work because it's just like it's a magical kind of a scene, especially when fresh snow is on the ground, and if you adequately kind of dressed for it, it's really nice, and the other thing is, the four distinct seasons, the spring, the summer, the fall, the winter, really allows you to appreciate nature. And we are living in a very beautiful place. So you really get up close to nature. And I think so that really has a very calming effect on all of us also.
I will also point out that, for half the year here, it's not winter. In fact, for more than half the year, just in case we're scaring some of the people who are watching right now. And it sort of brings up another point, which I'd like to discuss as well, which are some of the internships that we have. Because I often tell people, if you're going to come and spend 4 winters here, make sure you spend at least a summer so that you can enjoy, because it really is, it's lovely in 12 months of the year. It's especially lovely, I think, in summer, but I like warmer weather. Noman, while I have you on the screen, would you be able to talk a little bit about some of those internship opportunities for the students here on campus, either in the school year or over the summer?
Certainly. So there are a number of internship opportunities. We have the Office of Experiential Learning. They have a dedicated person who looks after internships and mentorship opportunities. So we have an ever-expanding kind of universe of companies and entities that we can place our students. The other interesting thing about the internships is that we have what is called as an experiential learning credit. And that allows students to go out and work somewhere, and get some experience, hands-on experience, and at the same time structure it so that they're able to get 3 academic credits, which is the same as 1 course out of that experiential learning. And the way that it works is that you connect with an employer, you kind of find out what the job is, and then you connect with a faculty member, and they're able to design a learning environment in which you reflect on your learning experiences. And there are different shapes and different ways in which we could accommodate that. But essentially, at the end of the internship, the student has benefited from that work placement in terms of experience, and also has been able to get academic credit for that. We have a number of other really interesting opportunities. One of them is the Reisman internships. And that is an internship that allows students to really put into practice their entrepreneurial ideas, whether they're in the for-profit space or in the social entrepreneurship space. And essentially, during the summer internship, the Reisman interns are employed and they are paid for by the university so that they can work on their business. They can develop their business ideas. They have mentors who help them. We've got a whole network of people that help them get their business up to a certain level. And in the next round, the same students are given $10,000 to $15,000 in order to really run their business and get it up and running. So the idea is to really encourage them to take the entrepreneurial pathway. So students who are interested in that pathway, we have this Reisman internship, as well as the other internships which are available. And we are also working to have some international internships as well, which we take a bit of time now with the COVID-19 situation.
Great, thank you. So lots of opportunities inside the classroom, outside the classroom, doesn't matter where you are, there will always be opportunities waiting for you here. Our hour is winding down. So if you have final questions, or if you have questions, not final questions, but if you have questions, you haven't asked them yet, please don't be shy, ask those questions. We have talked a lot about student life here over the last hour, which is an important thing because you'll be coming here as students and we want you to have a life. So Linnea and Biko, I'll look back to you as our student experts here. Are there other elements of student life that we should be talking about? What do you think that the students watching today most need to know about student life here in Sackville, here at Mount Allison, that we haven't already talked about so far? Any takers? Linnea.
Yeah, I can go first. I think it was my orientation chair in my first year who said this, and they were like, said something along the lines that, don't worry, everyone is nervous coming in their first year, and that's perfectly normal. Because I don't know about everyone else, but I had such crazy nerves my summer leading up to coming here. And then it was within like the first hour, I think, that all those nerves just like went away. And it was like so much going on, and like it all just like came, and it was kind of just like a big moment, I guess, because it's a bunch of lead up that's going there. But I think that like that's perfectly normal. But a lot of the times before you get to university, you're thinking more of like the academic side, which is a lot of the university. But like I would just give as a piece of advice, look at your degree as more than just the courses you're taking. Look at it in like how you can get to know your professors and make those connections and get involved with clubs and societies and get to know your peers, whether that's through residence or off campus. But I think just like spending your time as a student here as like more than just looking at your courses itself. I think that I had no idea how much university was more than just being in the classroom. And it's something like super cool because every student's experience is different here, because you make it catered towards yourself, and you get involved with what you want to be involved with, and you seek out academic and like other resources that would benefit you. So I think, yeah, just making the student experience your own and taking advantage of whatever is good for you.
Thank you so much. Biko, anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's just, your student experience will change across your 4 years or however long you spend at Monet. And I think when I was coming in first year, you're kind of looking at the academic side of it, and it is important, but there's so much that goes with your degree, and there's so many different ways you change in your experience. And who you are in first year, isn't the person you were in fourth year. The experiences you have change, the things you can get involved in, kind of come with the experience of being here. And there's also a lot of things that, sometimes when you're living high school, you don't think about, and things you didn't know. So like in third year, I started playing Ultimate Frisbee. We didn't have Ultimate Frisbee. I didn't know the game, but that's something I've come to really enjoy. So there's little things like those that kind of become part of your experience. So, be open to trying new things and getting to meet people, because I think they make the experience more meaningful, but also just recognize that the person you are, that, you'll change, and you'll be able to explore to a variety of different, things as part of your student life, but that's all, kind of part of the experience.
Thank you so much. So as our time is winding down, I do want to take a quick moment here and pause and say that, everyone here has individual experiences, and that's what makes it kind of interesting. So each of you who are thinking about coming to Mount Allison or are coming to Mount Allison, hopefully will be able to make your own experiences along the way. But I'd like to sort of close this morning by taking a moment to ask each of our panelists to share something that they really love about Sackville, a favorite something. So is it a favorite course that you took at Mount Allison? Mine, of course, as I like to say often, was managerial accounting 2131 with Noman Faruqi. No, did you have a favorite course that you would love to recommend? Do you have a favorite restaurant in town that you think people should know about? Is there a favorite little secret hideaway spot that you think students should come and discover when they come here? Do you have a favorite something that you will share with our guests today before we go? And I'll start at the top of the alphabet and put Mr. Adam Christie on the spot.
Okay, well, it's not going to be very Sackville specific. It'll be Mount A specific. I really like our fitness center because it's this beautiful space. I think it's well lit. It's south facing, and for me, that's where I can go either at the start of the day or at the end of the day. And a lot of other students, staff, faculty, even local residents do as well. It's just a place where people come together, and it's just a great facility, where, if you just need a break from your academics or your work, you just need to sweat some of the stuff out. I mean, it's a beautiful spot. If you haven't seen it, just go to our website and have a look around. You can see it's one of the, I think, one of the great facilities we have on campus. And again, as Mark said earlier, everything's within easy walking distance, 5-10 minutes. And so spaces like the fitness center and other spots on campus are readily accessible to students.
That's actually a great lead into one of my favorite things in Sackville. You mentioned that everything is within a 5-minute walk, and that includes the ice cream shop. And so one of my favorite activities, because the fitness center has, as Adam mentioned, lovely picture windows so that everybody can look out. So I love to get a nice ice cream and go and enjoy it in front of the fitness center. Biko, you're next in the alphabet, I suppose. Any favorites from you?
I'm going to cheat a little bit here and say my favorite thing was just, spending a summer in Sackville. Yeah, I think you just get to see a lot of places, in and around the town. There's a variety of different things that make the Maritimes, a good place to experience. So I think just spending a summer here and seeing it and experiencing it and visiting places, but also getting to know some people who are in town is some of my, kind of favorite experiences.
That's not cheating at all. That's a great answer.
I said
proponent.
cheating because I was including like 10 different things that you do inside the Sackville summer, but
That's fair. Summer, that we'll put that on the list. Krista, favorite Sackville, favorite Mount A, favorite.
I think I'll go with Cranewood Cafe. So Cranewood Cafe and Bakery is just, again, a short walk from campus, about, 3-minute walk, just in the center of downtown. It's an old stone heritage building. It's right beside our waterfowl park. So it's really beautiful grounds. And, in the summer and in the fall, they have blankets there that you can, grab and grab your coffee and bring it out and, get settled under a big tree. And it's really special. And again, just I think that, it's come up over and over again, but that sense of community. And I think that, it's, one of those places that you'll run into, community members and staff and friends. And I think that it's really, it's a special place.
Linnea.
I'm going to go with a course that I've taken, and I think my favorite Mount A course so far has been the Community Engaged Learning course. And so it partners with the Marshview Middle School in Sackville, and it was like a once-a-week 3-hour course, and every Wednesday we would get to go to the middle school, and you could do whatever you wanted to do, basically, in terms of like you had a goal at the beginning of the semester. So I partnered with one of the other students in the course, and we did like mindfulness and yoga. So every single week as part of my class, we got to go to the middle school and have a group of 20 students. And we had different activities from like making stress balls to walking Waterfowl Park to going and painting and going to our fitness center to do yoga. And it was all around just like one of my favorite courses. It wasn't even like, I loved that it was outside of the classroom, and like it was one of the experiential learning courses. So I would definitely recommend taking that.
Thank you so much. Noman.
Thanks, Mark. So I think one of the best things I like about Sackville is the fact that I control my own pace of life. I always lived in a big city, and I was running, somebody else was saying run, and I was running, either going to work, coming back to work, activities and what have you. And in Sackville, I have the sense that I am in control of the pace of life. If I really want to kind of, go out and do things, Sackville has a lot of interesting events that are happening within the campus, or I hop in a car, I go to Moncton, which is only a 30 minutes drive. On the weekend, I go to Halifax. I can hop on a plane an hour and a half. I'm in Toronto or in Boston. So I think it really allows you to adjust the pace of your life. And that's a really important thing when you want to reflect on yourself, especially if you are in that phase of life in which you're discovering yourself. You're trying to figure out what you want to do, who you are. You need that time in order to reflect and process things. And I think Sackville allows you the time and the place to really, nourish your soul and nourish yourself, in terms of really discovering who you are. So that's what I love about Sackville, that I can really crank it up. I can really crank it down depending on what I want to do.
Thank you. And Sonia, the last word to you.
Thank you. Since everyone else has talked about restaurants and other hangout spots, I'm going to talk about my favorite clubs, I guess, because involvement is very important on campus. So My first favorite club would be the dance club. I got to learn different types of dance forms, so that was fun, and you perform at the end of the year. Second favorite club would be Mosaic, the multicultural club in society. It brings together people from all around the world, and we celebrate different cultures, different festivals. And then the third favorite club would be something I just tried for fun. It was a unicycle club. I almost broke my teeth, but it was fun, and I had, highly recommend trying new things.
Highly recommend trying new things. I think that's a great way to end an hour of talking about Mount Allison University. So I would like to thank all of our panelists very much. I also would like to thank our attendees, and I recognize that we have some questions that are unanswered. Some of you have asked some pretty specific questions. So I've put the link to our admissions room, which is the next event in our International Open House. It's there in the chat for everyone to see. So as I bring this to a close, that's going to open up. One of our colleagues will be in there to meet you and ask any or answer any questions that you have. You see as well my email address right behind me. So please, at any time, I'm here at your service. Don't hesitate to reach out and ask any questions that you have. Krista, Numan, Linnea, Biko, Adam, Sonia, thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you to all of our attendees. And we look forward to working with you over the coming months as you prepare for a new and exciting experience here in Canada. So have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening wherever you are in the world, and we'll be in touch soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.